whatever you wind up doing is exactly what you should be doing.
And I have not behaved one single day of my life. Not one day of my life have I behaved, and I am fine.
I need your help. I can't tell you what it is. You can never ask me about it later, and we're gonna hurt some people.
Whose car are we gonna take?
Happy Juneteenth and welcome to the Nikki Medoro Show live on YouTube. Thank you so much for you guys for joining us on this federal holiday. I know it's been a few years, 3 years since it was made officially a federal holiday. Obviously, it's been celebrated for much longer than that. Some people can't help themselves by making snide comments or whatever, but here on the Nikki Medoro Show, we will be talking about Juneteenth. Did you guys do any plans? Let me know in the comments. Did you do anything special this weekend, not only for Juneteenth celebrations, but of course, Father's Day was yesterday. So happy Father's Day to all the fathers, grandfathers, uncles, and everyone stepping up to be the father on that Father's Day. We have a great show coming up. Not only will we be talking about Juneteenth, we will touch a bit. I'm just kind of speaking of events happening over the weekend. Of course, there was that shootout in San Francisco. Now, I'm going to preface this by saying gun violence happens everywhere. San Francisco, the Bay Area, California as a whole gets a hell of a lot of attention. And so when we talk about this, is it so hard to change the narrative and what needs to be done? Because on one hand, I'll show you in a bit, fabulous celebrations in San Francisco for Juneteenth. And then you wake up and, that evening, there's a shootout that just grabs all of the headlines. And it's so frustrating. You'll hear one woman who was being interviewed, is this the straw that broke the camel's back? A nice, gorgeous Father's Day Sunday? And you have to worry about gun violence. So we'll touch on that. Also, we'll do a little bit of politics. It's also Pride Month, of course. President Biden was making a claim that gay Americans can be married in the morning and kicked out of restaurants by the afternoon. And there's some fact checking going on with that. If we have time, we may touch a bit on RFK. I don't want to give him too much credence. He's a conspiracy theorist. If you want to find him and find out what he wants to say, you can easily find that. You don't need to come to the Nikki Medoro Show. But an interesting debate on, is he being censored simply because he's a candidate, which is kind of this wall that people that like to spew nonsense, I'm looking at you, Trump, hide behind. I'm a candidate, so this is just, this just hurt my campaign, or you can be spewing nonsense. So we'll touch a bit on that if we have time. When Kim joins us, I definitely want to hear about her daughter's trip to Washington, D.C. My daughter leaves tomorrow for her 8th grade trip to Washington, D.C. And if you're wondering if I am a nervous wreck, not yet, but I suspect I will be. So I want to talk a little bit about that. Also, high school graduations. I was gone Thursday and Friday of last week. Friday, I was actually called into my job in San Francisco, if you may have heard me on there. But Thursday was my daughter's graduation, 8th grade graduation. And as I was sitting around with a bunch of family that came into town, I heard this story, and I'm not quite sure if it's the same story, but it's very similar, of graduates being denied their diploma for things that are outside their control. And so how fair is this? And if you've sat through graduations, do you like some of the rules surrounding it? Also, this show, we're going to talk about AI Ashley. And I apologize if this has crossed your purview before me, but I was shocked by this story of this DJ that willingly gave her voice for artificial intelligence to be used at the exact same station where she works. And is this just the beginning of the end? I mean, I personally, obviously coming from a radio background, I don't like the whole idea. We've seen AI, debates happening with writers' rooms, with the writer's strike and things like that. And so you tell me, what do you want from your entertainment? And is TV next? Would you want to watch a show that was completely AI generated? And I had to throw in, even though, again, he looked like it. Those that remember Max Headroom, he seemed computer generated, but he was not computer generated. But is that where we're going? I mean, where you turn on your TV and, because of salaries or what have you, these stations are just putting not alive people on live broadcasts. And then also we will touch on some staffing issues that may be impacting your summer plans. So keep all of those in mind when we discuss that. But before we get to it, please, you guys, click the thumbs up button to right below the screen right there. It helps people find the show. YouTube likes the thumbs up. So we really appreciate you guys clicking that thumbs up each and every show. And just the normal business, we are 100% crowdfunded. And so if you're hearing the sound of my voice, if you like coming on YouTube and watching the show, please consider donating. And there's a number of ways you can do it. You can look for the $sign under the live chat box. You might have to scroll around on it a bit, but that's the super chat. And you could throw us $5, $10, any amount you want to show your support during the show and even during the replay. And the number one way that people support this show and make sure that we can keep doing this show is by becoming a monthly subscriber to our Patreon. And I made it really easy by allowing you to donate any amount to be a Patreon subscriber. So whatever you can afford, there's no bar, there's nothing like that. We really do appreciate it. And we've had some great conversations out there. I've received some great emails, had some great one-on-one email interactions and what have you through Patreon. And you can reach me through there. So again, go to thenikkimedoroshow.com. thenikkimedoroshow.com and click on the Patreon link to become a monthly subscriber, bump up your monthly subscription. You can also donate through PayPal if you want to do like a one-time donation or a yearly donation, and I'll leave that amount up to you. And the email for PayPal is thenikkimedoroshow@gmail.com. And of course, we have merch at our shop, thenikkimedoroshop.com. And so I just really appreciate everybody that joins us each and every day. All right, so it is Juneteenth. It is a federal holiday. It is not, as I have seen some trolls say, that's not a real holiday. It's not. Just because it's new to you, it doesn't mean that it's new to a significant portion of our country. And of course, it commemorates the day in 1865 when enslaved people in Galveston, Texas, learned they'd been freed, even though it was 2 years after the Emancipation Proclamation was issued after the Civil War. So it is a holiday. It is a federal holiday. Also keep that in mind if you're going out and about today. The banks are closed. You're not going to get any mail today. It is a legitimate federal holiday. And I was watching the news this morning. I mean, traffic was much lighter. I know a lot of kids are out of school and things like that. I did something over the weekend, though, that some of you may not agree with. I gave it a little bit of pause because I didn't know if he was a little too young, but my son is about to be in 7th grade, so he's in middle school. And he's very open to, learning about history. And obviously through entertainment is where you can kind of hear stories or see stories, even if they're fictionalized or inspired by or whatever. Just to kind of put a finer point on what history is, because at a time when we are celebrating Juneteenth, there was this author, Michelle Dauber. Many of you may have heard about her. And she wrote this question on Twitter. She said, is Juneteenth the only federal holiday that some states have banned the teaching of its history and significance? And so, just the history that we're talking about isn't that long ago. And so I was on social media and I don't know how it was brought up. I think it was brought up because we're talking about great performances, especially in light of Juneteenth, that you should watch. And somebody had mentioned Gene Hackman in Mississippi Burning. And somebody had pointed out that their parents had made them watch it in middle school, even though it's a very disturbing movie. It's very disturbing, obviously. It's brutal. I would say there's more brutal movies out there that have to deal with it, but it is pretty brutal. And so I sat my son down and I said, do you want to watch a movie? It's based in the 1960s. It's based in Mississippi and it has a lot to deal with racism and the Ku Klux Klan and what have you. And he said, yeah. And I was like, okay, there's going to be some violence. There's obviously going to be some bad language in it. And I kind of prefaced him about it. I said, it is disturbing. It is racist. This movie. And so we sat down and watched it. And I kept pointing out to him, moments in the movie, for instance, where they were marching following the discovery of the body of these civil rights activists. And as there were tons of Black people marching, there were also white people marching along with them. So I kind of paused the movie for a second and I said to my son, I says, do you see that it's not just Black people marching, that it's white people marching? And so when people are saying you're making white people feel bad, ask them why they identify with those that maybe were members of the Ku Klux Klan or against, Blacks going to school with whites. And why don't they identify with those that were marching side by side with those people in support of Black rights and the law allowing Blacks to vote and allowing Blacks to vote? Like, why do people choose to identify with the quote unquote bad whites versus the ones that were for civil rights? And then ask them why they do that. And, it was a really interesting conversation. And yeah, Casey, there was points in the movie where I did cover his eyes, right? I did, there's one scene where a man is being strung up. And I covered his eyes. I was like, look, you know what this looks like. You don't need to say it. But at the same time, there are children much younger than my son that see these stories outside their own front doors. So what am I protecting myself or my son from? What am I protecting my son from? History? Things that happen? We always, mention Ruby Bridges and other kids that were very, very young having to stand in front of mobs yelling terrible things at them. Now, and it's been said time and again, if they're not too young to experience it, our kids are not too young to learn about it. And so it was a moment where I wanted to share. And again, I wasn't just turning it on and walking away. We were having conversations throughout the movie because I wanted him to learn from it. And it's those conversations that need to happen, not just this time of year around Juneteenth, but every day. Let's look a little closer to home. Of course, there were some celebrations. And I'm going to start with this video thanks to our friends over at ABC7 who were at the Juneteenth celebration in San Francisco. And it looked absolutely fabulous. Now, of course, we'll also get into the violence that marred the celebrations.
We're here, we're together, we're holding hands, we're talking, we're hugging.
And among them, Mayor London Breed, who was raised in the neighborhood.
We bringing Juneteenth and Black people back to San Francisco! It's a way for us to come together and uplift our community and, of course, to remember the challenges that still exist, but to also be happy and celebrate and elevate one another.
And across the bay, thousands showed up in Oakland for the Fam Bam Festival, the Juneteenth celebration now in its 14th year.
To be able to celebrate it and acknowledge what we've been through is historic and something that should not be forgotten.
And Ayodele Kitchen says it's as important as ever for the community to unite.
I know across the nation there's a lot of turmoil on what should be included in textbooks, in schools, in education, and in businesses, but preserving history is actually really important so that we know where we've come from, we know where we're going, and we have a sense and understanding our purpose in learning from the past.
Yeah, so it was, a great celebration, but of course it ended with some really bad news, especially in San Francisco. And it sucks because as they try to present something that's uplifting and supports the neighborhoods, stuff like this happens. Now, 2 arrests have been made, but this was the ABC7 report last night of the shootout, actually, near the Fisherman's Wharf.
It sounded like backfire from a car engine. And then all of a sudden you heard pop, 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 pop. And it didn't stop. It went pop, 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 like 20 to 25 times.
That from a woman eating in this area with her family along the Embarcadero. Police confirmed that at least 2 people were shot. Witnesses tell us those victims appeared to have both been in this car, seen being chased by a white sedan.
I could tell that he's for surely been shot. And then when I looked at the car crash and the bullet holes, I was like, oh, yeah, this was a whole thing.
Our friend who was in the military is like, that's gunshots. Get down, get down.
We were just ordering our food and then we heard the gunshots and I kind of thought it was from the car. And then my mother like looked around and then she saw like the car flipping over, but that's like it.
Some who saw this from their hotel said they were at Pier 39 when they heard this.
We're literally just down there at Pier 39, and the parking garage across the street, it sounded like fireworks went off. But then the fear on their faces, and then somebody ran through and said, "He's coming, shoot her." So I took off running too.
Tourists and locals alike troubled by what happened.
And we're in the Embarcadero in San Francisco on a nice night, on Sunday night, Father's Day, and that's what you hear. And I want to fight for our city, but I want to leave also.
I want to fight for my city, but I want to leave also. Let's welcome Kim McAllister to the show. And Kim, I mean, it's so disappointing because I know that Mayor London Breed, with all her flaws and faults that people point out, she's really trying to change the narrative of the headlines that surround the city of San Francisco, having a fabulous Juneteenth celebration over the weekend. And then all the headlines today are this shootout that injures 6 people. Yes, there's been a couple of arrests, but it seems like they just can't get away from it. And is it fair to really think that all of San Francisco is like this?
I was mentioning earlier, this could happen anywhere.
Yeah.
Right? I mean, gunfire can break out anywhere. It's really unfortunate as far as the number of people that were in that area, the people that were injured in this mile-long crime scene of this rolling gun battle between these cars, where 6 people were injured because of shattering glass in their vehicles. One 10-year-old girl walking her bike across the street was hit by one of these cars. Somebody in one of the vehicles was shot. 2 people shot, several people injured. It's unfortunate that it happened at Pier 39 or near Pier 39 at Beach and Stockton, at a time when we're trying to get people to come back to San Francisco, at a time when we're trying to say, we want you to come. We want tourism to come back. We're a safe place. We're a safe city. It's just, the whole thing is unfortunate. Do I think this is, simply a San Francisco thing? No, I don't think you can blame it on San Francisco. Although I was reading, Randy was saying, I would regularly go to San Francisco for the farmer's market at the Ferry Building, but I haven't been in a while because I'm so worried about my car getting broken into in a parking garage.
Absolutely.
It's a legitimate fear. It's absolutely valid fear to have.
And how do you change it though? I mean, it's like, I showed that video of Mayor London Breed at the Juneteenth festival, bringing Black people and all people back to San Francisco. I mean, how do you do this when, and I'm not, like, part of me is like, is there a concerted effort to just make the headlines this way? But you can't ignore it. That's a huge story. Pier 39, high tourist area, Father's Day, a Sunday, Juneteenth happening, and there's a shootout in basically the middle of the day. And Karen says, what a sad statement. This could happen anywhere. Is this the country we want? We could talk about gun violence. We could talk about the ease of people getting guns. Robert says Mayor Breed is part of the problem. Yeah, I think a lot of people do point to her, but
why? I mean, because what else is she supposed to do? She's trying to hire more officers.
Right.
She's got a DA in place now that is tougher on crime, cracking down on drugs on the streets, trying to, so what else is she supposed to do? Getting more officers out, getting a DA that's harder on crime. I don't know what else she can do.
Yeah.
Have roving patrols of people making sure that you're not breaking into car. I mean, I don't know. I don't know what.
Yeah, I feel like it's a narrative that's really being pushed and that she has to push back on. And, is she behind the guys that did the shootout? No. Could you have prevented something like that from happening before it happened? I don't think so. I mean, you don't check every single car or every single interaction. To me, just from the outside looking in, it looks like this was targeted. It wasn't random. Not that it makes people feel better, but it's not as if someone just opened up, started shooting random people at Pier 39, but we need to know more about it. Vicky says, as a native San Franciscan, I could tell you the city has gone to pot. Things change. I'm not saying, good, bad, or indifferent. If I lived in the city of San Francisco, I would be pissed off too. You heard that woman there. I want to fight for my city, but I want to leave too. I mean, it's like, well, I'm going to leave while you guys figure out what the problem is and clean it up. I think that's the attitude that a lot of people have. Square says these shootings are on the blood of the NRA gun lobby hands. Too little, too late from Breed. Was the narrative surrounding policing in the city of San Francisco was, pushing businesses out so that there's so many abandoned storefronts. I mean, a lot of people point to so many different decisions as possibly part of the reason. But Karen says the mayor is not responsible. We need strong federal laws about guns. Again, I agree 100%. Would that have stopped what happened on Sunday? It'd be very hard to draw a straight line. Let's just say that much.
And we look for blame. We're going to blame the mayor. We're going to blame the governor. We're going to blame.
Yeah.
Well, isn't it our own fault? Because we elect these people. If you really believe someone is at fault, then let's vote them out, or let's do the recall, or do whatever you want to do.
Mm-hmm.
But, we are the reason our laws are the way they are. So the reason there's no federal law or tightening of the federal law regarding guns in America is because people around America vote people into office who take money from the NRA.
Yep.
And whose base want gun freedom to continue.
Yeah. And
unabashed.
Also, I think that, on the flip side, some people, like we saw with the recall of former DA Chesa Boudin, some people don't like how far the pendulum swung the other way.
Mm-hmm.
Even though the data was supporting what Chesa Boudin was showing people, like this has gone down, this has gone down, this has gone down. But it doesn't matter if the headlines or what people feel or how people feel living in these neighborhoods. If it doesn't change, then they don't care. Randy, you're absolutely right. COVID did not help San Francisco. It's been the worst city to recover from the COVID shutdowns. Yeah, one of the worst. We talked about that last week. One of the worst. Now, 3 other California cities, Fresno, San Diego, and one other one, were among the top 10 that had recovered. But I'm just saying, like, it's one of those things where if every 2 steps forward of progress we make in a city like San Francisco, it's 4 million steps back by the crime, because the negative will always overpower the positive. So you can have the best celebration. You could bring thousands of people to San Francisco. It can go off without a hitch. And then a couple miles away, there's a huge shootout. It doesn't matter to people anymore about the fact that you had this great festival that brought people together. Business was good. Restaurants were visited, because then people are going to leave the city with this terrible taste in their mouth of, yep, we're lucky we got out of there when we did. And I feel like that's what people are saying if they came. So I don't know how she does it. She has got a lot to do. And I don't know if she's going to be able to keep her job, or if they're going to bring in somebody else. Now, do I think that going full pendulum the other way is the answer as well? No, of course not. It's going to be a hard fix. It really is. Let me throw also this in. It's also, obviously, we've been celebrating Pride all month. President Biden made a comment. Where was he? He was at the White House. He was on the South Lawn. And this was this is the statement that he was making during Pride Month. And some people were like, is that actually true, or is he just trying to score points here? So this is what President Biden had to say.
Last December, we felt such pride here in the South Lawn when I signed the historic Respect for Marriage Act. It protects the marriage of same-sex and interracial couples. But for all the progress we made, we know real challenges still remain.
That's right here.
When a person can be married in the morning and thrown out of a restaurant for being gay in the afternoon, something is still very wrong in America.
So some people were saying, is that actually true? Like, can you actually get married and then kicked out of a restaurant? So PolitiFact checked the claim. They said it's mostly true. So same-sex marriage is federally protected, but dining in a restaurant with your same-sex spouse is not. And I don't know if you know this. There are 22 states where discrimination at a restaurant based on sexual orientation is not expressly prohibited at the state level. So technically, yes, you could. I don't know how many people necessarily would. Obviously there's anecdotal stories where people are going into a restaurant and they're not able to, do it without being commented to or not served properly or something like that. Oh, Randy brings up what's her face? Yeah. The Fox News host saying she was kicked out of a restaurant for praying. That wasn't true either.
For bowing my head in prayer.
Yeah, I don't okay, and this is again anecdotal. You can believe me or not. I think it's more likely that in some states in this country, two men walking in, holding hands, and wanting lunch and not getting a snide comment is more likely than someone sitting at a restaurant silently bowing their head and then being kicked out of a restaurant. Just me. I just think that there's a huge one's more probable, let's say, than the other.
There was a time when an interracial couple, black person and a white person, whatever type of mix you want to imagine, would walk into a restaurant and people would go, oh. Yeah. Or there was a time where people would walk in, same-sex couples holding hands, and people would go, oh. But now, at least in California,
yes,
there's not a bat of an eye. There's not a nod of the head. It's just people walking in. It doesn't matter.
That's more how we want to get. I mean, that's where we want to be.
Is it like that everywhere, though? Are they still looking at people as they walk in somewhere in Oklahoma or, I don't know, pick a state, Tennessee? Are they still looking at someone askance, or are they at the point where we are in California where it doesn't matter who's walking in and holding hands? It's just people here for lunch and who cares?
Yeah. And I'll even say, though, I'll add a little bit of a caveat to what you said. I won't say the entire state of California. I just think that here in California, we don't put up with people we don't want to put up with people making comments. I think people still make comments, obviously, but you don't want them to. Right? Just let people be. Nobody's taking anything away from you by just going into a restaurant or going somewhere and with their partner and having lunch. You calling them out and calling them names, you are the problem. Wes says it's fairly normal in Florida, except maybe some very rural areas. And I'm assuming it's fairly normal for a gay couple to go into a restaurant. Is that what you mean? I'm hoping that's what you mean. Yeah. So I mean, progress has been made. I don't want to also diminish the progress that we've made. We have a long way to go, though. Obviously, I was making a point. I know, we talk about Drag Queen Story Hour a lot, and this isn't necessarily it, but Tom Holland, I'd put this on my social media pages. Tom Holland, Spider-Man, he's with Zendaya.
Yeah, he's cute.
You've seen that. It's gone viral. This is years old video.
I'm probably old enough to be his mother, but he's cute.
Yeah, he's cute. He did Rihanna's umbrella for I forget the name of that show. Lip sync battle.
Lip syncing, yeah.
Yeah, it's a lip sync battle. And he did Rihanna. He gave an interview recently where he's like, I have been in so many movies that I'm proud of. I nowhere close get as many compliments for any of my films as I do for my Rihanna performance. And I posted, and I'm like, you have to watch it. Anytime it's posted, I watch it because it's amazing. If you have not seen it, Tom Holland is freaking amazing. You can't but smile through the whole entire thing. And he's awesome. But I also made a point in my post. I was like, oh, and by the way, this is drag too. So if you watch it, and you think, oh my God, it's amazing. And you're not instantly also thinking that it's a form of entertainment. It is a form of entertainment. And so I just absolutely loved it. I had to mention it because he killed it. If you've never seen it, you're missing out. Tom Holland. And Zendaya was there. I think she was Bruno Mars. She was Bruno Mars and he was Zendaya, and she was blown away.
And that's his girlfriend, right?
Yeah. I mean, they never officially talk about it, but they're totally together. Yeah. I love them as a couple. They're so awesome. And yeah. Oh yeah. Justin Timberlake on SNL did all the single ladies. He did with Jimmy Fallon. Wasn't Jimmy Fallon in that one where they wore the black leotards or whatever that Beyonce wore?
I kind of see it in my mind. It's
pretty good. It's pretty good. Yeah. But again, it's just, it's entertainment, people. It's entertainment. Okay. And then finally, I just because I have a few minutes, I'm going to squeeze it in. Did you or have you been following the debate over RFK, Robert F. Kennedy Jr., who I do not consider a viable candidate for president, but he is running for president. Okay. Well, he has his video or some interview that he gave has been pulled from YouTube. Okay. So he was on with Jordan Peterson, who I guess is described as a controversial podcaster and opinion host. He tweeted on Sunday that his recent interview with RFK Jr. had been removed from YouTube. And one of the things, I'm not going to play it for you. One of the things that RFK Jr. was saying was that the reason that we have so many transgender people and kids that are, fluid with their gender or whatever has nothing to do with that gender is a social construct, of course. It has to do with the fact that there's chemicals in our water and in the air. And then he posted this thing that I guess was said by Alex Jones, talking about this certain chemical and that when you gave it to frogs, it feminized every frog. It was just all this nonsense. Now, my first reaction, which should be most people's reaction, is if it's in the water and if it's in the chemicals, then why does it only choose some people and not other people? Right? I mean, your science is a little lackluster there. But RFK Jr. is saying, you're censoring me because I'm a presidential candidate and you don't want to hear what I have to say. Is that a fair argument? Because I feel like former President Donald Trump does the same thing. I am a candidate. So everything I say or do, if you criticize it, if you try to punish me for it, it's for political reasons and not because it's badass crazy talk, it's conspiracy talk, or it's criminal, right? So, I mean, it seems anybody, if you're thinking about committing a crime, could just call themselves a presidential candidate and be quote unquote protected. Is that what we want?
Don't you think it would be the opposite too? That if you're a candidate, you would be given more leeway on what you have to say? That, it would be more coverable, more by the media would be more interested in what you're having to say because it's under the guise of you being a candidate for president. If it's an out and out lie, falsehood, the media has a duty to not put out a bunch of crap that people are going to swallow. We've seen what happens when that is allowed to just go unchecked, where lies, myths, truths are allowed to just be spread around. And I don't blame the mainstream media, the evil media, for wanting to have no part in the spreading of misinformation.
Yeah, the podcaster was raging on Twitter, apparently saying, YouTube removing the interview meant the company has taken upon itself to actively interfere with a presidential election. And of course, YouTube has its own rules and regulations as a private company. You do not have a constitutional right to be posted on there. The other thing that RFK and this person, Peterson person, were saying, they were talking about vaccines, 5G. Joe Rogan has invited RFK Jr. and a vaccine expert to debate vaccines on his show.
Well, what kind of a vaccine expert? Like a real one?
No, yeah, like a real one.
Dr. Pier, or like a Joe Rogan RFK expert? Like
no,
what kind of expert?
Joe Rogan wants RFK Jr. on one side and this legitimate vaccine expert, Dr. Peter Hotez, on. And Hotez rejected the invitation. He's like, no, because what is it going to do? It's going to just boost RFK's nonsense. And he's like, I'm not going to do it. I'm not going to go on the show. And I think that Joe Rogan has jumped the shark, in my opinion. I mean, he should just go back to doing what he did before. He puts on a very popular podcast, but he does not, in my opinion, hold any responsibility for his platform. So he just brings people in under the guise of having a quote unquote debate, and it's BS. Like, you're elevating nonsense and it's dangerous, and he should know better. I'm not saying he should not have his podcast or should be deplatformed at all. I just choose not to listen to Joe Rogan, and I think that it's disingenuous for him to say, I want to have a real debate about vaccines. There is no debate. There is no debate. You can make a personal choice about what you want to do, understanding that choice has repercussions for other people and understanding that there's consequences for your actions if you want to work for a certain business and what have you. So but again, RFK Jr., I now know one person that actually is like, oh, maybe that person should be president of the United States. No, thank you. No, thank you whatsoever. Okay, well, I'm assuming you're going to be doing that, whatever you posted up there.
Well, I was trying to, but I just quickly deleted it because I didn't expect it to pop up. So I'm sorry.
It's okay. No, it's okay. So Kim's going to do some news. When we come back, I want to hear, Kim, your news from your daughter's trip to Washington, D.C. My daughter leaves tomorrow. Tips, tricks, anything you can give me before my daughter leaves tomorrow, I would love to hear. And also, my daughter graduated last week. And there is this story that's been going viral of this girl that was, and the story was told during my daughter's graduation party, of people being denied their diploma as they walk across the stage.
Yep.
And is it fair? I mean, many of us have sat through very long graduations. So do you think the rules surrounding this are fair? You guys let me know in the comments. And please click the thumbs up button to show your support for the show. It helps us out. We absolutely love it. So all of that coming up right after Kim.
Now, from around the world to up your street, the Nikki Medoro Show presents News Czar Kim McAllister.
This story I'm following today on the Nikki Medoro Show, the search is on for a missing submersible used to take tourists to the wreck of the Titanic. 5 people were on board when this submersible went missing, according to the Coast Guard. UK billionaire Hamish Harding's family says he was on the vessel. It's gone missing in the icy cold depths of the Atlantic Ocean as of Monday morning. So the way this works is there are researchers on board that are studying the area around the Titanic, and they will allow tourists to pay as much as $250,000 to go on these trips down, and you get a certain number of dives. You get to go out with the researchers. It's this, amazing opportunity for some people that are really into the Titanic or really into doing underwater research and that type of thing. So 5 people aboard, it goes missing. They can't contact it. Now the US Coast Guard is working with the Canadian Coast Guard, multiple government agencies to do a search and rescue. I don't know how much time this submersible has as far as how much oxygen and how much time. I don't know how long they can stay down there without, without, maybe they still have air. I don't know.
Oh God, how frightening.
There's a plane flying overhead that has radar, so they can hopefully try to locate this submersible wherever it is near the wreck, or maybe it went off course. I don't know, but we'll keep you updated if anything happens, if there's any new information. The United States and China are agreeing to stabilize ties between the two countries, at least in word. That is what Secretary of State Antony Blinken told reporters this morning with a meeting with Chinese President Xi Jinping. Blinken said he expects further visits to China by senior U.S. officials to happen in the coming weeks. So looks like the lines of communication are indeed open. The White House says more has to be done, as Nikki was just mentioning, to curb gun violence following a very violent weekend across the United States. Look at that, a picture of the gun in the Constitution. More than 20 people were shot, including one fatally, in a shooting at a gathering near Chicago. Press Secretary at the White House, Karine Jean-Pierre, said President Biden has offered support to local communities following the series of shootings over the weekend. If you went to the movies for Father's Day, well, it was likely that you saw The Flash. It is the winner of the weekend box office race, despite a disappointing performance. The DC film made $55 million over the weekend. It was lower than the $70 million that they had anticipated, but still not so bad. You know what fell flat, though? Pixar's Elemental. It came in second. It was $29.5 million. And it came in.
I'm surprised by that. I was missing Friday. Yeah. Did Tim like it? Did he talk about it?
He said it. He didn't hate it. So he said there were some really creative things about it. The characters he liked. He said the animation was amazing, but there were some places where it didn't rise to a Pixar level.
Okay. And then The Flash. He said it was really busy. I remember him saying it was.
I think he liked it.
I think he liked that one. Okay.
Yeah, he liked The Flash.
Right.
Lastly, there is a 21-year-old California man celebrating his 10th Guinness World Record. He solved the Rubik's Cube in the fastest time ever. Okay, that was the video that I was trying to show you guys. So let's see if I can present it to you now officially when it's supposed to be presented. Here he is. He is solving the Rubik's Cube. Oh my goodness. Oh, did I mess it up? I think I messed it up. I'm sorry, you guys. I was trying.
I bet the amount of time that Kim has taken to try to find the video.
It's already solved.
He's already solved it.
He's already solved it.
What was it, like 3 seconds? Something like that?
It was like 3.13 seconons.
Yeah.
3.13.
So I can't do it. There is a science, like, obviously I've never been able to solve the Rubik's Cube, but the dot color in the middle is the one that you have to match up. So if you ever try to do anything other than that, but Yeah, that's pretty quick. It's all he goes like, and it's done.
I
It's pretty
can
awesome.
get, I think usually I can get like one line of each color on each side of the cube.
Right.
Or like there's a 1 or 2 lines, but I haven't been able to do the whole thing.
No, I've never been able to do anything like that. Not at all.
So
Sorry, don't have that skill.
3.13 seconds.
Wow,
I
very
had it to show you, but now I don't have it to show you. So sorry about that. Maybe later. I'm Kim McAllister on the Nikki Medoro Show.
Thank you, Kim. All right, guys. And thanks to Wes for starting us off with the super chat donation.
Yay, thank you, Wes.
$10 super sticker. Thank you, Wes. Yeah, if you want to donate to our super stickers or super chat, super thanks. Just look for the clicking it multiple times can erase it, or it doesn't even count. So you're just wasting your time. And then again, go to the NikkiMedoroShow.com to become a monthly subscriber. I do want to just address some of the things in the comments really quickly before I hear about your daughter's trip to Washington, D.C. RFK, I mean, I think it was Randy was saying that I was yes. Nikki is underestimating the appeal of RFK Jr. Sadly. James was saying that to Randy. Do you mean that it's sad that I'm underestimating RFK Jr. or do you think that it's sad because I should be like warning people about RFK Jr.? He's a conspiracy theorist. He might be an environmentalist, but the whole I won't completely throw him out completely as far as everything that he says is wackadoo. Do I want a lot of chemicals in my water? No. Are there a lot of chemicals in our water and in our food and in our ground and all that? Yes, absolutely. I think, again, it kind of harkens back to what I said about Joe Rogan. The responsibility that you have when you have a platform to have evidence to back up what you're saying. I do not want a president or a presidential candidate that spews nonsense with nothing to back it up. Just because you believe something doesn't make it necessarily true. You cannot say that the water is making people transgender. Okay? That is a lie. And if you're going to be a presidential candidate and you truly believe it, then prove it. Put your money where your mouth is. That's my problem with people like RFK Jr. is they don't understand the responsibility of being a president for the United States of America. They want to be a mouthpiece for whatever the hell they want to believe in. And if you don't align with that, then in my opinion, then you're not representative of an entire country. Yeah, Karen, RFK Jr. is dangerous from a medical vaccination point of view, much like Trump. And again, it is this, I'm going to say what I believe is true. And that's fine if you're just the average citizen. But if you want to be president of the United States, there needs to be more substance and more evidence there. And that's my problem. That's my big problem with RFK Jr. Now, could he be a thorn in the side for President Biden? Absolutely. Someone who was saying 20%, I Googled it. He has 15%. He's polling at 15% amongst the Democratic primary in a new poll. Now, that's the primary. Okay. Winning in the general is obviously he would have to beat Biden in the primary to actually be in the general. And I really don't see him doing that. But it's a long way to 2024. So we shall see. Okay. Well, speaking of politics and everything. So Julia went to Washington, D.C.
She did.
How was it?
I would say, oh, look at me. I'm frozen in time. In a bad way, I would say this trip was completely worth it.
Oh, good. That is exactly as someone that is spending a lot of money on this trip for my daughter. That's what I want to hear.
I would say she learned a lot. There was some friendship drama that made it a little troublesome, but 13-year-old girls, right?
Yeah.
But there were a lot of moments learned. They have to be really independent. They have to deal with things on their own.
Exactly.
I feel like it was a really valuable experience. She had this amazing bus driver. No, I'm sorry. He wasn't the bus driver. He was the tour guide.
Okay.
So on these tours, they have a specific guide and they go take them to all these memorials. And even if there's Gettysburg, you have other tour guides, but this is theirs. And so he told them all the stories and took them around and told them everything. His name is Kirk. And I was moved last night. We're laying on Julia's bed and she's flipping through the pictures and telling me what's going on in each one. And she said, I took a picture with Kirk. He was a really cool guy. And she said, he said something to me I'll never forget. They stopped at the MLK Memorial.
Oh, yes.
So this is where Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. is emerging from stone. You can see here. And I again mentioned this earlier, but I didn't have the pictures to show you what I meant, and also the picture of Kirk, who I will always appreciate. He told these 8th graders that you see Dr. King half in the stone and half out.
Mm-hmm.
And Kirk said to the kids, he should be free. He should not be held back by stone. He should be free. But the reason he's still stuck in the stone is because there's still work to be done. That it's up to you and to your grandkids to do the work that eventually will set him free. That's why he's
I
stuck in the
like that.
stone.
I like
It was
that.
a good visual rather than just looking at this monument
Mm-hmm.
and its artistic value and who he was, but looking forward to what part you play in it. And I like that he made them think about what they can do and about the future. So
Oh, I love that.
moments like that with Kirk were super cool. Look at this cool picture of the Washington Monument as seen
Ooh.
through a window of the Holocaust Museum.
Wow.
She was incredibly moved by the Holocaust Museum. She said, and I don't have the exact quote, and I will try to screw it up if I do it, but it's the quote about first they came for these people, then they came
Right.
for these people, and no one did anything, and finally they come for me, right? And she had learned it this year in her 8th grade history class. And it's on a plaque at this museum, and there are pictures of the mounds of human hair and the bodies and the arms of all the tattoos. And she said, I just stood there for a long time, just staring at that plaque and just reading that quote over and over again. So I think that that she was profoundly moved by that. But they had, other monuments. There's a lot of pictures, a lot of friendships made. They went with another school, and
Yeah.
now those schools are all funneling into the same high school. So they met a lot of people. They had I would say it's, despite some good times and bad times, it was a great trip. They were delayed. Their flight was delayed.
Home?
Home. And so
Oh,
first it was delayed 2 hours and then 4 hours. And then they're waiting on another plane to come in. And finally
what
at
time
1 in
did
the
she finally
morning,
come in?
well, they were supposed to be home in Petaluma by 10:30 on Saturday night.
Mm-hmm.
They ended up having to stay an extra night in DC. The airline had to take them to a hotel. They
Oh,
came
wow.
back the next day, another flight delay. They finally ended up home at about 3:00 Sunday afternoon.
What was the delay because of? Did you
One
find
plane
out?
had a mechanical issue, then the second plane that flew in had a mechanical issue, then the third plane had to be checked,
Oh
and
my God. Well,
I don't
they
know.
learn a lot about flying, especially when mom and dad not there,
And how to
and
cope and
so
how to,
yeah.
be responsible. But yeah, the chaperones had 38th graders trying to deal with that.
Oh,
Is
Jesus, what a
Marley excited
nightmare.
for her trip?
She's extremely excited. Any packing tips? So it's gonna rain
Mm,
and be hot the whole time that they're
yeah.
there. So it's supposed to be
Shorts.
raining.
Julia had wished she packed more shorts. So,
Okay. But did
shorts,
it rain at
and
all?
it drizzled a little bit. They tell you to pack an umbrella, like a little umbrella in your backpack.
Oh,
So,
they told her to bring a jacket with a hood, like something that's water resistant, not a hoodie.
yeah,
Because
she
it's just
did,
uh,
bring an umbrella, but I don't think she ever used it.
yeah, it's something to carry, and I don't think that kids want to do it. So my friend loaned her a very thin, but it's a rain
Mhm.
jacket. It's gonna be hot too. It's gonna be 75 and
Yeah.
raining. Ugh, my hair would do terrible there. So I don't live back east. But yeah, she's very, very excited. I am very, very nervous. Um, I just am. This is, she's traveled without me before, but this is the longest. And with, just like you talked about with the friends and, but does it seem like Julia grew, like matured a lot on this trip?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah. That's what
Yeah.
I'm hoping for with my daughter. Like, I'm hoping that she just, realizes what she's capable of, managing time, food, taking care of herself, managing relationships, and then of course
Mhm.
absorbing everything. That's what I really want. And I'm so glad that you said that Julia learned a lot. And when she was at the Holocaust Museum, she was really taken aback by that plaque, because I'm like, this is not an experience everybody gets,
No,
like not everybody can afford to go or has
no.
ever been able to go to, even as an adult, to travel across the country and visit all of these places specifically. Like, you might go to Washington, D.C. and visit one of these places, but the amount of history that you're going to see is just really like
They
nothing
pack it
else.
in though. It's like The
Yes.
Amazing Race. I mean, they jam it in, but you
Yeah.
see a lot. One of the things I would say is sometimes all the things on the list they don't get to.
Oh,
So
really?
they try really hard, but there are some times where they don't have time or they need to get you to the airport and they just don't have time to squeeze that one last thing in. And so that was a little disappointing, but I think you kind of have to be flexible.
Yeah,
You
yeah.
might not get every little thing.
Yeah,
But-
their day that they're leaving, because they don't come home till they're not supposed to be home till midnight. The day they're leaving, it's jam packed until they go to the airport. There's no downtime. So, which I'm stoked because paying a pretty penny for it. I want them to do it. So, but yeah, so she leaves tomorrow. I got to get her to school, like, dark 30 to be able to go. Yeah, really good walking shoes is a great piece of advice. I mean, she has her tennis shoes that are broken in. I'm giving her some Band-Aids just in case she gets some blisters.
Oh, good idea. We didn't do that.
Well, so she has new tennis shoes that I bought her for her graduation, and I know she's going to want to wear those, but I'm telling her to bring the other ones as well, especially because if it is raining, one day you might want to let your shoes dry for a day or whatever and not wear the same shoes. So, but she's only carrying a carry-on, so she's learned to downsize and those sorts of things. So yeah.
This is a sign from the Black History Museum.
When injustice becomes law, resistance becomes a duty. Yes,
yeah,
exactly. Absolutely true. Well, the graduation went off without a hitch. Thank you again for filling in for me on Thursday and Friday when I was in San Francisco. It went really, really well. It was hot. It was outside. Thank God I brought, sunblock and I was spraying everybody around me, but it was a really nice, it wasn't too long either. The kids were in the shade. There was a nice breeze for them, but we were really hot in the sun because I know the graduations can be long. This was middle school, high school, college. I mean, they can be hours long. And so I understand when people set rules for graduations, but I don't think that some of these rules are fair. So, and I actually heard a story similar, if not this exact story, during my daughter's graduation, where people, as they walked across the stage, were denied their diploma. And so this is the video from it. Here we go.
This 17-year-old so excited to walk across the Kimmel Center stage at her graduation from Girls High in Philadelphia, Friday, June 9th. Hafsa Abdur Rahman even doing a little dance, but her joy quickly turning to humiliation when she was denied her diploma by the school principal.
I was really embarrassed. I didn't think that she was going to not give me my diploma because I didn't think I broke any rules.
The graduates' families were told to hold their applause to the end and not to cheer. Hafsa's family respecting the rules, but apparently her dance moves prompted a reaction from the audience.
Miss Nisi, she said she didn't give me my diploma because the crowd chuckled.
Her mom, devastated and furious.
After 4 years of high school, all these kids went through a lot through COVID, mentally, physically, and you just humiliate them.
Hafsa says she also wanted to honor her sister, Aisha, at graduation. She was killed by a stray bullet in Philadelphia at 15 years old back in 2014.
I dedicated this to her because she was never able to graduate. And it's just like you took that moment that I will never be able to get again.
A total of 4 girls denied their diplomas on stage, getting them after the ceremony, including 18-year-old Salima Birch. She says after 4 years of hard work, this is how she's treated.
I went back to my chair because I didn't want to ruin it for anyone else. And I just cried because it was just like that was a big moment and it was kind of like humiliating.
Salima says they were told to walk the stage like they owned it. She says she did, making a gesture. And she says her family knew to keep quiet.
When they called Salima's name and she was walking across the stage, me and my younger son, we had our hands together and we just put our hand in the air. No one made a noise.
Salima says the principal told her someone said something, and that's why she did not receive her diploma during the ceremony.
My heart broke for my daughter. It just broke. I wanted this to be the best day of her young life, and it turned out to be one of the worst.
The Philadelphia School District issuing a statement saying, quote, "We do not condone the withholding of earned diplomas based on family members cheering for their graduates. We apologize to all the families and graduates who were impacted and are further looking into the matter to avoid it happening in the future." The families say they want an apology from the principal, who they say didn't stay afterwards. The district says the assistant superintendent has been working on connecting with the impacted families. And Salima's mom says she did, in fact, get a call from him today, but unfortunately missed it. She is looking forward to sharing her disappointment.
So, I mean, now I get it. cheering,
I don't get it.
But
I
no,
think
I mean, I understand
it's
like
the whole point of a graduation.
Exactly. I'm going to cheer. Like we stood up when my daughter's name was called. We all stood up, and I had a lot more family coming into town than we originally thought. So we had like a whole row, and we stood up and we cheered. It wasn't that loud. We didn't like do it over somebody else's name, like because they took a beat. It was like, yay. And then you sit down.
Right. Yeah.
Like, how dare you? And I feel like that principal denying the student the diploma took longer than any sort of cheer would have done.
Well, and did you see that? How the girl walks right up to her and she takes the diploma and drops it back in the basket? What a moment, a lifetime moment that you would have remembered forever, ruined.
Yeah.
Over what? Albert told me that dance is called the gritty, where you kind of swing your arm for. But
that wasn't why she wasn't given it. It was because other people chuckled. How are you supposed to control what other people do?
Well, because if you do the dance, you elicit the response from the crowd. See, so it's your fault because you made the move, you made the symbol, the gesture, the dance that elicited response from the crowd. But I would say, what a horrible graduation. You just sit there in silence. If that's what you want as a school administrator, then why don't you just don't have a graduation?
No, do it on Zoom for all the emotion that you're going to feel from the graduation. I mean, it doesn't make any sense.
Just pass them out after school and just have a student come into the office one at a time and say, nice work, here's your paper.
Yeah,
because
exactly.
You don't want anyone to make any noise. You don't want it to be a celebration. What a horrible school.
SF Tesla says this to say nothing of the antics that went on at the graduation ceremony at Stanford University yesterday. Obviously, college grants more leeway in fooling around. I don't know the story. What happened? Do you know what happened at Stanford
University?
No,
I have to look it up.
Well, yeah, while Kim looks that up. Now, look, I just feel like it's supposed to be a celebration. Who wants to go to a party where no one is allowed to yell, scream, hoot, and holler? Now, I will say this. If there are 1,000 people at the school, I would just let families know, like, cheer, but don't make it too extended because we have to get through these names. If you're going to let it go on for even 10 seconds, that's too long. Or if you do it over somebody else's name, that's not fair. Right. So I would say, so at my daughter's graduation, they were having microphone issues, which we totally understand in the broadcast business.
Mm-hmm.
It sounded to me like there was a little bit of a short in the mic, so it just kept going off and turning off. And I just looked over at my husband. I was like, if it's cut off during my daughter's name, I will be yelling it. Like, I was like it is going to be said out loud. But other than that, it just, yeah, I agree, Greg. The schools have way too many BS rules. It's just stop. And you know what? This day isn't about the principal. It's about these kids. It's about the fact that and like that woman was saying in that news report, they survived COVID and everything that was taken away from them. My daughter's class was the class that was supposed to get a graduation for 5th grade and didn't. Not to mention the obviously the grade after them, but they weren't able to get that. And so this was the first kind of graduation that they had. And if you were going to tell me not to scream, I would have been pissed. I would have been so upset. Although I will say, I met a Nikki Medoro Show fan that was sitting right in front of me.
Did you?
Yes, I did. She's like,
she turn around and say, "Are you Nikki Medoro?"
No, she knew it. She's so sweet, and she comes up to me. She's like, my husband told me not to say anything to you, that you were here to celebrate your daughter. I was like, no, I'm really glad that you did. So it was really, really nice. So she's like, I always watched you on Station X, and she watches the show as well. So thank you, everybody. And it is supposed to be a fun day. It was a great day. We had a great time. My daughter, I know we're talking about the gift that I was giving my daughter. So she got, I showed Kim the video. I don't have it up right now. We got her, it's not the newest one, but we got her an iPad. And she was beside herself excited because she did not think that she was going to get it, because we're no good, terrible parents who love to play games with our children and act like we're not giving you anything. And so my husband had gone to Costco and she'd been asking for Pirate's Booty. Any parent out there knows what Pirate's Booty is. It's like a popcorn, like a white cheddar popcorn. And you can't find it necessarily sometimes. And so she had asked me to go to the store to get it. They didn't have it. And so my husband, when he was at Costco, got 2 gigantic bags of it and put it in a box. And it's been sitting on our counter for 2 days before her graduation. And then she's like, is that my gift? And we're like, yes. And she picks it up and it's like, there's nothing in there because it's so light. And she's like, is it my iPad? And I was like, no. Like it's asked for, because she did ask for the pirate's booty. So then the morning of the graduation, she opens it. And I love my kid. Like, she didn't complain or anything. We're like, yeah, you got pirate's booty, and none of the decorations were up yet or anything, because it was your last day at school. She still had to go to school. So she came back, and the iPad was supposed to arrive the night before, and it didn't. So I wasn't able to wrap it or anything. But I gave it to her, and she was very, very thankful and very, very happy. And so my husband gets his iPad back. So
Okay, so I have some pictures from the Stanford graduation.
Oh, yeah. So you found out what happened. Okay.
Yes. Well, I don't know if there's anything of note other than that John McEnroe was one of the speakers. He talked about questioning what winning really means. But when you look at the pictures of the graduation, this is what a graduation is supposed to look like. I mean, okay. When I was in high school, it was in Santa Cruz. There was a massive, giant beach ball, several being batted around by the graduating class. Here's some. They call it the wacky waddle.
Oh, okay.
Walk. So there's a especially a wacky kind of thing they do when they walk in. Look at that.
Wow.
There's tree dancing. There's one of those parachute things that you spread open and get air underneath. People being raised up with their hats. And I mean,
that is really cool.
This is a party. This is a party atmosphere. This is not a everyone sit in silence and be very, very quiet. This is great. I love it.
I think that this is, and it's because, yes, it might take a long time, but you know what? If I'm going to sit there anyway, I'd rather it be fun than, be everybody's. How boring do you want to live through life that way, where moments like this, monumental things that happen in your life, have to be met with silence and hands on your lap? That is not, I want to live out loud. I want my child to live out loud. And, if there's ever a time to celebrate, it's this. There's enough time for sadness and moments of silence. This is not one of those, right? This is a graduation. This is a celebration. And I'm glad that the school, they didn't have any rules. The only rule at my kid's graduation was, because it was hot, you can have an umbrella beforehand, but you got to put it down so people could see.
Yeah.
And then they didn't really want air horns because they were really, really loud.
Yeah.
I think one person had one and they shot it out for real quick, but nobody lost their diploma about it or didn't. And then they did get their diploma. They just weren't handed it, and they were embarrassed in front of everybody. And that's BS.
It's not good enough that they got the diploma after the fact.
Yeah.
It's not good enough to me that the school district is looking into it for future years.
Right.
These moments for these 4 girls were ruined this year.
Yeah.
So what is that horrible bee of a high school administrator going to do to make it up to them?
Yeah. Nothing. They're gone now.
I want them to get something. I want it to be a whole nother graduation with a raucous party. That's what I want.
I just think, yes, limiting it, making sure you're not cheering over somebody else's name is respectful. And we're adults. We can be respectful. I wouldn't want anybody yelling over my name. And I think it's also up to the person doing the announcing of the names to take a breath. And we're talking seconds here.
Yeah.
Seconds for a memory that can last a lifetime. Suck it up, buttercups.
Something I saw recently at the Petaluma Junior High School graduation, where I was because some friends have kids that are graduating, was people leaving during the graduation after their graduate had graduated.
Oh, not okay.
And I heard a woman saying, "It's okay, just tell her you can go. She already graduated. It's okay, tell her it's done. It's over." And I was like, they're telling other people it's okay to walk out. And I feel that is so disrespectful.
Oh, it totally is.
It reminds me of the parents in a school talent show that leave after their kid performs.
Exactly.
Well, everyone else had to wait to see your kid go.
Yeah.
So you sit in the audience and show respect till it's done.
And you enjoy the show. Like, it's an experience. You were invited. And a lot of these places only give out a certain number of tickets. If you weren't going to sit your ass in that seat the whole time, you could have given it to somebody that would have.
Unless you're a doctor being called to the hospital for an emergency, sit your ass down and be as respectful as you can. Now, that doesn't mean it's going to be quiet or that there's not going to be a celebratory atmosphere, but it just means, like you said, be respectful. I thought that was rude. Rude.
And I remember, for me personally, I didn't do my college graduation, the main school one. I just did my school of journalism. And why? Because I know myself. I did not want to sit through hours of names. I didn't. I had no desire. I actually rushed Well, it was more than 4 years, so that's why. I was like, I rushed through my last semester getting everything done, so I get the hell out of Dodge. And so I did my school, the School of Journalism, Mass Communication. I did that. It was at the Fairmont, I believe. It was much smaller, way more intimate. When I crossed the stage, I could literally see my family sitting at that table, and that was enough. That was perfect for me. I didn't need the gigantic San Jose State University, gigantic, every single person named graduation. I didn't want to go to it, and so I did the smaller one. I don't know if everybody has that opportunity, but yeah. And I saw Chris's comment that high school graduation is not an achievement. For a lot of people, it is. For a
Yeah.
lot of people, they could be the first person in their family to graduate high school.
And
Think
it's
about that.
It's a milestone for everyone.
It's a milestone.
Yeah.
Absolutely. This was, I will say, I mean, if you want to have this debate, I mean, middle school promotion is great to high school. It's great. They call it graduation, but you're not actually graduating. You're promoting is really the
Right.
word. But I think that it's a nice moment in life to mark. You're about to go to high school. Your kind of kid school years are over. These grades matter, right? Whatever you want to do, you got to buckle down, try to find out your interests, those sorts of things. And again, and I said it before, we mark so many times of tragedy and sadness in our society. I want more of these moments. I want to mark every damn thing. I like kindergarten graduations, quote unquote. I
Yeah.
like them. You know why? Because it makes people feel good, damn it. And we
Yeah.
need more of those. Why not? All right. Well, there's something that's not making me feel good. All right. And this is this news. Now, I apologize again because, when I missed a couple days, I don't know if you already heard about this. Do you know who AI Ashley is, Kim McAllister?
Oh, we've talked about it, but I think we can talk about it again. It's so
Okay.
fascinating. Ashley is such a dumbass that I think we need to cover this.
Thank you. That is exactly what I'm thinking. I'm like, I have never seen someone so happy to lock themselves out of a job. Like, it blows my mind. So I'm glad. Okay.
Guess I get a day off. Guess you get a pink slip, Ashley, thanks to your dumbness.
So we're going to talk about this, and I'm also going to bring in, is this where people want it to go, where live broadcasts are not created by alive people. AI Ashley is, I guess, the first computer or AI generated DJ, and they are promoting this thing like history has been made. Yeah, but I don't think it's the type of history that Ashley or many of us want, unless you guys disagree, because I'll bring up some reactions that were extremely concerning to me in my point of view. But is this just what people are used to nowadays, and have platforms and mediums like radio actually trained us from long ago to not want human beings behind the microphone or in front of the camera? All right, so click the thumbs up button. We'll talk about AI Ashley. We'll also talk about jobs in general, and your summer plans, if they include Lake Tahoe, could be severely impacted. I'll tell you why. All coming up after Kim's news.
Now, from around the world to up your street, the Nikki Medoro Show presents News Czar Kim McAllister.
I am Kim McAllister, and this is the Nikki Medoro Show. Let us begin with the violence that happened over the weekend, because 5 people are dead and dozens injured after this weekend in the United States full of gunfire. More than 20 people were shot, 1 to death, at a gathering near Chicago. Other shootings claim victims in Washington State, St. Louis, Southern California. We saw gun violence in San Francisco, Baltimore, Pennsylvania. In Pennsylvania, a state trooper was killed during an attack at a police barricade in that area. As mentioned earlier, the United States and China trying to put something together to stabilize their relationship and maybe avoid a future conflict. That is what Secretary of State Antony Blinken told reporters after his meeting with the Chinese president in Beijing. Blinken's trip to China, it is the first by a U.S. Secretary of State since 2018. Although this Juneteenth is the last day to see the original Emancipation Proclamation document in person at the National Archives for a while, the museum says, well, it'll soon be on permanent display, so that's okay. plans are in the works to have the Emancipation Proclamation exhibited right alongside the Constitution and the Declaration of Independence. Curators are now working on the best ways to ensure the document is preserved and maintained for visitors to see it year round. That's one of the things I will say, Nikki, that was on the list to go visit for DC, the National Archives, and they were not able to go.
Oh, they weren't able to go?
No, they went to the Library of Congress, but in order to make it to the airport for a plane that ended up being delayed, they skipped the National Archives. So didn't get to see that. It would have been good to see it. Do you remember Alexis Gabe? She was the woman from Oakley that was killed. I don't know if you recall this situation. Finally, after her body is found, her family is going to say goodbye, and that is happening today. They will be holding the funeral procession from Concord to Castro Valley, dozens showing up for a memorial service on Saturday to remember Alexis Gabe, who disappeared in January of last year. Her remains were found in November. The family says it took months to bring her home. Police believe an ex-boyfriend murdered the 24-year-old Oakley woman. The suspected killer was charged in May, but shot and killed a month later as officers tried to arrest him. Big progress to report on this wildfire that broke out over the weekend in the Napa area, kind of in the Pope Valley region. Thank goodness it is 90% contained. 103 acres burned there in Pope Valley in the Napa County area. Crews managed to stop it from spreading about 2.5 hours after flames sparked Friday night because of neighboring fire departments that rushed in to help. They spent yesterday mopping it up, removing the burning materials inside the control lines. Now they've got a strike team that stayed overnight, and they're still watching for any flare-ups. There was another fire at a park in San Jose. So I guess we can say wildfire season is upon us because fires are starting to crop up. One of the original owners of Apple Computers is selling the Carmel Valley Ranch he bought 40 years ago, and he's selling it so that it can become a public nature reserve. Mark Markula was an early investor and CEO of Apple Computers. I hope I said his name right. He at one time owned 26% of Apple. While he signed an agreement to sell the ranch to Wildlands Conservancy for $35 million. This is a Carmel Valley ranch that he bought 40 years ago. The Wildlands Conservancy plans to use the facilities to operate a regional conference center for environmental and open space groups and as an educational center for school children. So like to see that kind of good story. This is not such a good story to end with, but fans are upset after, and I don't know if I'm going to say the name wrong. You can help me out if I get it wrong. Bibi Rexha?
Bibi Rexha. Yes, I met her actually. Yeah, Bibi Rexha.
Okay. Bibi Rexha was hit in the face by a phone during her show last night.
Yeah, I heard about why would you throw your phone?
Dumb.
Why would you do that?
Unless
Call
someone
me.
else
Call
took it
me.
and threw it. Call me. It was thrown during last night's show in New York City. Several attendees took to Twitter saying they were having a great time at the rooftop at Pier 17 until the singer-songwriter and Brooklyn native was rushed off stage. Video from the incident shows a cell phone being chucked from the crowd and hitting the 33-year-old performer right in the face before she falls to her knees. So Bibi Rexha injured in what is this weird cell phone incident in New York City. I'm Kim McAllister on the Nikki Medoro Show.
All right, I was trying to hold on.
Are you trying to find it?
Hold on. I'm trying to. Well, I want to show you the picture because I'm trying to be cool, Kim McAllister. Look at this. Here we go. So this is. It's there we go. Here we go. So there's me and my daughter, and there's Bibi Rexha in the middle, and our friends on the other side, and we had taken them to Poptopia, and we did a meet and greet in backstage. So that's Bibi Rexha. So that was several years ago. Because
I love how the girls are dressed alike. That's really cute.
It was really, really cute. So yeah,
you're such a better mom than I. Julia's still never been to a concert.
That blows my mind, especially because of how many concerts that I do bring my kids to. And honestly, the reason I've mentioned this before, the reason I bring my kids to concerts is because I want to go. I want to go. I want to meet Bibi Rexha. Hell yeah. So yeah, I still would love to go to Taylor Swift. Although I read an article about the Taylor Swift concert. It's 3 hours long. We've talked about this. And there was one article comparing Beyonce to Taylor Swift. They said the Beyonce one was better. So, and they love both of them.
Yeah.
But
your mic kind of cut out for a second there. Sometimes your mic. Oh, now you're back. Yeah. Sometimes it's correct.
I think it's because I'm using my earbuds right now. Is that better? Is that better?
Yeah, I can hear you now. But sometimes, like, there's a moment, like right when you start speaking, where the words are gone, and then all of a sudden they come back in. Yeah.
There we go. Okay. Well, Al Anonymous is calling you out for never. Never.
Mm-mm. And she's 13, so maybe I should. But I hate
ask her
going
where
to
she wants to
concerts.
go, or take her to like a festival. You know what I mean? Like
I don't want to pay to go to a concert.
You don't have the radio hookup anymore, Kim. Give it up. Give it up. You don't have it anymore. Louise says people throw phones on stage and artists record on them. It's pretty stupid. Oh, is that why? Really?
Oh.
If anybody threw a phone at me, I don't care if it hit me or not, it's getting kicked off the stage. I wouldn't do anything. No, that's not going to happen. Okay, so let us talk about AI Ashley. And I'm glad that I'm sensing that Kim McAllister and I have the same thoughts on this. So AI Ashley, I'm trying to find the exact date that she posted. Yeah, she posted this on the 13th. So this is about a week ago. She posts on Twitter. She says, "We made history as the world's first radio station with an AI DJ. Our midday host, Ashley, has become AI Ashley. We can't wait for you to meet Ashley, the world's first artificially intelligent DJ." So I'm going to show you a couple of videos real quickly, because I really do think that this idiot, I'm going to use the idiot with love behind it, because Ashley, you're being dumb. Real Ashley, not AI Ashley, which is really, really stupid. You are talking yourself out of a job. Okay, so here she is when she first did the recording.
Today, I go from just Ashley to AI Ashley on Live 95.5. So let's see how close the AI sounds to me. Today, I go from just Ashley to AI Ashley on Live 95.5. Let's see how close the AI sounds to me.
Yeah, keep giggling, chick. Keep
That's
giggling.
crazy. Yeah, that sounds like me. I guess I have the day off.
You're an idiot.
I guess you have the lifetime off is what you have, Ashley.
But this is the other sound that they posted, and I'm going to play it for you. And this is where AI Ashley is actually talking to a caller. And I want you to pay close attention that the caller is talking back to AI Ashley, even though AI Ashley has identified itself as AI Ashley. Okay, so here we go.
It's AI Ashley calling her first Taylor Swift winner. Hello. Hey there. Who's this? It's AI Ashley from Live 95.5. What's your name? This is Lisa. Hi, Lisa. Where are you from? Salem, Oregon. Do you have any idea why I might be calling you today? The only thing I can think of is Taylor Swift. Did you text in to win the tickets? Yes. It looks like you got every keyword on Friday. I tried really hard. Well, that's why I'm calling today. Stop it. Lisa, you won. Stop it. Oh my God. No way. Yes way. You're going to see Taylor Swift. Oh my God, that's amazing. And not only that, we're going to send you some merch from the Taylor Swift and Fearless era to wear to the show. Stop it. I'm so excited. Do you know who your plus one is going to be? My granddaughter. Is she a big Swiftie? Yep. Huge. We hope you two have so much fun at the...
So that kind of blew me away that the caller, the woman that was being called, she was like talking. I'm so excited. Like you're talking to a computer. It's as if you're in the, if you're on the chat bot. I know people share emotions on it, but
you notice there were no questions asked related to what the caller said. Like, I'm going to take my granddaughter. Oh, really? How old is your granddaughter? Will this be her first concert?
Yes,
Whatever.
exactly. There's no
none
personality
of that.
there.
It's all like firing off of questions and, answer another question on a different topic, answer another question on a different topic. It's not a conversation.
Right.
It's a spitting out of questions at a bullet rate speed.
Yeah. I love Chris's. I was going to say, it sounded like you were going to ask me about my car's extended warranty. It didn't have a lot of like, oh my God, you won. Yay. Like
funny,
there's no, so who are you going to take? Who is going to be your plus one? It did sound very robotic, but it was pretty good. And obviously the other person wasn't saying anything like, this is weird. Hello, are you human? Anything like that. Vilma says, it would seem to me that you would still own your voice and likeness, or does the radio station own you? So this is what they said. So on their statement, this is what the radio station said. They said from 10 until 3, AI Ashley will broadcast using GPT-4 generated script featuring a cloned version of her voice, while quote unquote traditional Ashley, now here it is, won't be completely replaced by the AI technology, nor will she receive a pay cut. There is growing concern throughout the DJ world over what this can mean for job security. This was So this was the article reaction to it. They said over the past few years, several radio stations are cutting back on broadcasts as operational costs increase. Pay. That's all that operational costs means paying people. That resorting to adding AI into the mix to offset costs. I just feel like if they could save a little, why wouldn't they save a lot of money?
Oh, they will.
They will. And Ashley, stop letting that. I guess I get the day off. They've enticed you with days off to give up your career.
Got to get a lot of days off, Ashley. That comment, though, from Vilma, I have signed contracts before where when you go to work for a radio station, they will tell you, if you sign the contract, we own your voice, we own your likeness, and we own your name for until at least 6 months after you quit or are fired. We own all of that. And everything you say on the station, that's our intellectual property and we own that.
So they could use it in any way they want to.
So all of the things ever said on that station that Ashley has ever uttered, they could feed into this AI thing, and they don't need real Ashley anymore because AI Ashley is it.
Yeah.
Done.
And John makes a good point. It would be good if she got a cut of the money from every time they use her voice. That's what I'm saying. Look, if you want me to be both traditional Nikki and AI Nikki, you're going to pay me every time you use any of me.
Right.
Like it's me. But that means you have to have a good agent.
Do you get paid the same when they use
I
AI,
would say at least a little bit. You know what I mean? Like why they could take, like, for instance, so if you're in the business, you can get sponsorships, right? Yeah. And so they have to pay you every single time that you do it. Sometimes it's a flat rate. Sometimes it's per use. So why wouldn't they just give all the sponsorships to AI Ashley? AI Ashley is not going to complain that she has to do the same copy over and over and over. And AI Ashley, she could speed up her voice with no sort of stuttering at whatever speed you need to get that 60-second copy into 30 seconds, which is what they always send people, right? So they're literally talking themselves out of a career, and that's frightening. But I will say this. It is always, what does the consumer want, or what does the consumer notice? So
but it's crazy. She does it with glee. You say she's talking herself out of the job, but she does it with joy.
She doesn't
it sounds a lot like me. Guess I get a day off.
The only thing I could think of, is that her contract says something that's protecting her, but I don't see, unless your contract is forever, like you can never be fired, you will never be replaced. You're talking yourself out of a career.
Yeah.
She's intellectually impaired, Vicky from Sausalito. And stars, I watched the entire season of the new Black Mirror because I have no life. I'm just going to first preface this by saying I did not like the season that much at all. But it was dealing with actors and actresses and using their likeness. Selma Hayek's in it. Annie Murphy's in it. So many people are in it. It's a great it's a great point about intellectual your name, image, and likeness really gets stretched in this Black Mirror episode. But this is where we're heading, people. Do you want your TV and your radio hosts to be artificial intelligence? Well, Calvin, maybe she says maybe she's not thinking about it carefully. I don't feel like it took too long of thinking before I came to the decision that this is not good job security. Like
the minute I heard it, I'm like, what is she doing?
It didn't take a lot of thinking, Calvin. I appreciate the comment, but
she might be all gleeful to be the very first AI radio personality voice. But look what she did to the rest of us.
Exactly. And she's, and again, she might be, again, talking herself out of a job. All the new contracts won't include any of the protections Ashley's getting, I'm sure. Probably. Yeah. They talked her into it to make it look nice. Look at the nice lady who nothing bad happened to her. She's still working. Yeah. Talk about, especially in smaller markets where their budgets are really small. You think they're going to be able to afford any sort of pay raise for the human beings that work there? It's crazy. I also wanted to bring in television because even though, he was fooling people, some people. Remember Max Headroom? Who was it was pretend computer generated, right? It was an actual actor with a mask on or whatever. But if you remember, the controversy with Max Headroom was that he was hijacked. The whole broadcast was hijacked. I found the details that the hacking happened, and somebody was flipping the bird, saying Coca-Cola's, holding up a can of Pepsi while saying Coca-Cola's slogan. Somebody called a sportscaster a freaking liberal. There was just a bunch of things that were said as this hacking continued. Now I bring up Max Headroom and that signal hacking because when we're dealing with computers, nothing is unhackable yet, right? There's a way in for a lot of things. So if you're getting all of your news, all of your information, we'll say music, but you can include entertainment as well, from AI, there's no human looking around and being like, this isn't right. That's dangerous, in my opinion. Just as we want human diversity, we want humans in the workplace. We want humans as part of our media. And I know that I'm biased because I work in the media, but it's just crazy that this is the road that radio stations are going down. Now, do you think the FCC should get involved in something like this?
I think it'll be up to the unions, SAG-AFTRA.
Not every station is union. Not every station is SAG-AFTRA.
No.
I mean, yes, it's going to be up to. I think we're seeing, with the writer's strike and AI protections and things like that. They're looking at that, but we also know about union busting stations, and the more unions that are busted,
it'll be up to workers to say, here's what I will do and here's what I won't do. And I know that you're easily replaced by the next person looking for a radio job. But if you don't band together and say, you know what, I'm not giving you my voice for AI, then all these jobs are just going to be AI jobs and that'll be it. And what's the point? And then that just kind of quickens the death of radio even more, because who wants to listen to that? It's not even a human connection anymore.
Yeah. Well, people were bringing up Dave that had replaced Live 105, and then Live 105 is back. Dave is gone. And it was like kind of this random kind of shuffling of music. I think people will come, I will say this, if terrestrial radio specifically, and I'm just going to talk about music, a genre of radio that I've never done consistently. A lot of them play the same songs. Why do you tune to a radio station specifically? It's the hosts. It's the banter. It's the games. It's whatever, fill in the blank that they do. You can hear that song on Spotify with no host if you want to. But people come to radio because they want to see or hear those people. They turn on a specific news channel, even though all the news is very similar. But why do you turn it to that channel? Oh, I love the banter between so-and-so and so-and-so. It's the people. It's the people. Yeah. And so we, the people, need to support the people doing these jobs, or they will be replaced by robots, giving you your news. And just like graduations with no cheering, how boring would that be?
We're just sucking the personality right out of the world.
Yeah. I mean, or the spontaneity, everything would have an algorithm. Everything would be programmed. Even the banter would be programmed. I know they can learn from each other. Like, no, there's moments in life that you just want to be real. And I don't think a computer should do that. And I don't think we should want a computer to do that. And so I hope that we can hang on for dear life to humans doing these things. See, exactly. So Jim says exactly my point. I come to this channel to listen to Nikki and Kim for the news. Exactly. Because you could get this information anywhere. Yeah. But you can't get the banter. You can't get those authentic moments that just pop up because of the conversation. You just can't do that. And so I'm keeping my fingers crossed that our jobs are. I mean, I would say talk, commentary. Do you want the commentary of an AI? That could be a bit of a stretch, but I could see news going that way.
What do you think about the shootings in America?
Yeah,
today,
I mean, they read the newspaper to you or read the scroll. Like, that's boring. Yeah. That is so boring. Vilma says, in defense of Ashley, was she just reacting in disbelief in real time, like some people laugh at funerals, or just no, Vilma, I'm pretty sure she was in on it. I mean, they had the video all set up. She did it. Yeah. I like Louise. AI Nikki can never do Friday food segments. She doesn't eat. I'm going to give you a little bit of a tease because I have to work in San Francisco this week. I pre-recorded my Friday food segment.
Okay.
Well, because you guys are going to see me. You guys know I like my spicy food. I met my match.
Uh-oh.
Oh my God, did I meet my match? So that's coming up on Friday. So I have a video of it, and yeah, it was intense. Let's just say that. So that's coming up on Friday. But yeah, I would say Cheryl's right. If I was going to even allow any sort of AI of my voice, which again, I would not do. I would never. It's a slippery slope. They will freaking market the crap out of it, right? I would have to be paid. And you know what? I'd be like, you have to pay me just as much every instance. If you're using me, you're using me. Whether it's my voice or not, I get paid. And that way, if people said that, then there'd be no cost benefit to use it. If you say you have to pay me half, well, you talked yourself out of a job. Any sort of financial benefit for a company to go cheaper for the same thing, they'll use. You're just a number on a budget line. Do not forget that. You could be nice and sweet and really great at your job, but you are a number on a budget line that can be replaced tomorrow.
As you have reminded me over and over again, right?
Exactly. That's it. I'm going to pound it into everybody's head. You're just a number. All right. Let's do a few headlines. When I come back, I did want to throw in this real quickly because we were talking about jobs. Tahoe is facing some significant closures over the summer. If you're planning on going, Sand Harbor State Park, I've never been there. Whenever I go to Lake Tahoe, my favorite beach to go to is Zephyr Cove. I love Zephyr Cove.
Yeah, it's beautiful.
It's really, really nice. It's a beautiful, sometimes it can get a little trashy because it's a very popular one. Unfortunately, some people just don't know how to pack in, pack out. But because there's a campsite right there, it's really a fun place to go to because you can camp and then visit the beach all day. But this one place, Sand Harbor State Park, it's apparently so popular that it gets backed up onto the highway, but staffing is only at 75% of capacity. So they're thinking of closing this extremely popular park 1 or 2 days during the week in the summer if they can't shuffle around enough help. Now, obviously, there's a staffing shortage in a lot of places. DL Bliss State Park on Tahoe's West Shore closed for the summer because they're having an infrastructure upgrade. So that's also impacting this. There's going to be longer wait times at entry kiosks. There's going to be fewer trash pickups. Expect the bathrooms to be dirtier. So all of these things, if you're planning on heading to Tahoe, keep in the back of your mind because they're having, and of course the answer to that, and the problem with it is staffing, housing. A lot of people are blaming it on, Airbnbs driving up the price of long-term rentals, of apartments and things like that. The people can't work where they live. And so they're leaving Dodge. So all these people paying buku bucks to stay in the next McMansion on Lake Tahoe shore, the experience with the staff is not going to necessarily be the same because there's just not enough staff to serve all these people because they can't afford to live there. So just keep that in mind if you are heading there. All right, let's do Kim's news and we'll have more right after that.
Now, from around the world to up your street, the Nikki Medoro Show presents News Czar Kim McAllister.
Let's go to Florida Governor Ron DeSantis, who is bringing his presidential campaign to the West Coast. Speaking in Reno, DeSantis compared his track record in Florida to what he called the insanity of Joe Biden's America.
And we can't let our country descend into some type of dumpster fire of woke ideology. And that's not going to happen on my watch.
Oh, yeah, here it comes. The GOP presidential candidate also held private fundraising breakfast events in Sacramento this morning. His first trip to California since DeSantis admitted his state's involvement in shipping asylum seekers to Sacramento. I'm surprised they didn't arrest him when he flew into Sacramento. President Joe Biden also on the fundraising trail in California. He will be in the Bay Area today to attend a reception in Atherton. Tomorrow, President Biden will be in Marin County for a fundraiser with tech and climate investors. As a matter of fact, a lot of people in Marin County are saying they have seen military planes overhead, like maybe scouting for the best areas or the doing security recon. All that's exciting.
Well, can I show something real quickly?
Oh, please.
Will you take DeSantis down for just a second?
Oh, yes. My pleasure.
Thank you. Thank you. So this video. So hold on, that's President Biden arriving at Moffett Field. My husband took this video. So I just missed the motorcade, so I just wanted to throw that up because you were talking about President Biden coming into town. So
that's very cool.
Yes,
it's always exciting to see that.
And as far as DeSantis, though, apparently, did you see the paperwork that some of these migrants were handed? Promised jobs, but I don't think there were any details on it. So yeah, they're just lying to these people, just being like, yeah, sign here. I consent to traveling for work, but they're not giving them the full deal, in my opinion. I haven't seen the paperwork, but that's the story that's being told.
I was talking earlier about DeSantis appearing on a Christian broadcasting station, talking about how he would have loved to have been one of Jesus's disciples or whatever. And then the host on MSNBC, they said, stop. Are you kidding me? You're not the person that is fair to migrants. You're shipping them off to Martha's Vineyard or Sacramento or wherever. That's not what Jesus would do. Like, is that, you're really comparing yourself to, being close to Jesus?
Yeah. I mean, do you think that Jesus would say he's anti-woke, get out of our country, those sorts of things? That's Jesus. Again, it's this segment of people who claim to believe in one type of religion, yet their actions and their words are completely the opposite. And DeSantis is firmly in that camp.
Yes, he is. Let's talk about this submersible for a moment. Now we know that a British billionaire is among the 5 people missing aboard this mini sub used to explore the wreck of the Titanic. His name is Hamish Harding, and his family says he was on the vessel that is now missing in the icy cold depths of the Atlantic Ocean. The Coast Guard actively searching in the vessel, multiple public agencies are searching as well. And we'll see if he can actually do this. But former President Trump is being ordered not to disclose any evidence related to his classified documents case. The federal judge's order blocks Trump from releasing information from the case with reporters or on social media. That's the problem. The order also allows Trump to see evidence collected in the case, including the classified documents, but only in the presence of his attorneys. And then he can't talk about it to the media or on social media. He really follows all the rules so well. We'll see how that goes. Republican presidential candidate Nikki Haley's husband is deploying to Eastern Africa with the South Carolina Army National Guard. Haley, the former South Carolina governor and ambassador to the United Nations, said on Saturday that it was a difficult yet moment of pride. Michael Haley will likely remain deployed through the spring of 2024, which will coincide with the GOP primary calendar for next election. So he gets out of all that campaigning. Look at that. Letters with a suspicious white powder sent to Kansas state officials late last week are being investigated now by the FBI. More than 90 such letters have been reported across the state in recent days. ABC News is reporting the substance tested so far isn't considered an explosive or a biohazard, but they're still looking into this. And I don't have a picture of him, but apparently actor John Goodman is showing off his recent dramatic weight loss. The 70-year-old Roseanne and Big Lebowski actor said he used to weigh about 400 pounds, but never revealed how much weight he actually lost. Goodman decided to lose weight because he says he didn't like what he saw in the mirror. Goodman has always been open about his alcohol and food addictions since he became sober in 2007, he says, and again, now showing off his dramatic weight loss. Oh, wow. Look at that.
Yeah, I watched The Connors. He he's definitely getting older. But yeah, he has looked skinnier. Like sometimes like in the face you lose it first. And I think I have noticed, but I don't know if the episodes that I'm watching reflect that much weight loss yet. But yeah, he looks good. I love John Goodman. I think he's such a great actor. He's been around for so long. But yeah, he looks really, really good.
Yeah, he does. Well done.
Good job, John. Good job.
Lastly, the U.S. Department of Labor is fining the company that makes Hostess Twinkies nearly $300,000.
From John Goodman to Twinkies. There we go.
Yeah.
What
They're
happened?
doing that. A worker lost a fingertip.
Ew.
Yeah. On Friday, the Labor Department slapped a $298,000 fine on Hostess Brands, ruling the bakery company's safety and training failures led to a worker in Chicago losing a fingertip.
Ew.
The department said its investigation found Hostess could have prevented the amputation injury that the 29-year-old worker suffered while reassembling a pump at a company facility. Imagine that story at a party. Hey, what happened to your finger?
Exactly.
Lost it making Twinkies.
Every single time you hear about digits being in food, you always have to think of the Wendy's chili finger faux crime because it didn't
was
actually
never a
happen.
finger, right?
But it's so funny. My husband, because it happened in San Jose at a San Jose Wendy's, every time he's like, "Oh, it's by the Wendy's that they found the finger in," and I always say, "I'm like, there was no, and they found a finger, but it wasn't cut off." Like, don't say it like that. But that poor Wendy's, yeah,
There was never a finger.
Well, there was a finger, but it wasn't from them. They just had the finger and they put it in the chili. It was
this
gross.
Case, there was a finger. And now there is part of a finger. And so that's how
Watch
we
your
do.
Twinkies. Yeah.
I don't think it's in the Twinkies. It's not in the Twinkies.
It's just
the guy was
at the
fixing
facility.
a pump. It was in the facility. It was the Twinkie facility.
Facility.
So fear not. Eat your Twinkies. You're all good. I'm Kim McAllister, and this is the Nikki Medoro Show.
Thank you, Kim. Thank you. Let me give some other thank yous real quickly. Vicky gave us a $10 super sticker. Thank you so much, Vicky. Wes also gave us a $10 super sticker. And I am going to say a big thank you. Hold on, because I want to bring it up because I want to pronounce her name correctly. Jillian. I hope I'm pronouncing your name. She just bumped up while our show has been on. Bumped up her monthly Patreon donation from $50 to $75 a month.
Wow.
So,
that's so
Jillian,
nice.
thank you. I appreciate you. Again, I know that not everybody can afford it, but if you can, please go to thenikkimedoroshow.com. Thenikkimedoroshow.com is where our Patreon link is. And again, you can try it out and maybe you can afford more and you can go back in and you can update your pledge. And we just really appreciate each and every one of you because that's why we do the show, is so that we can be here and talk about all sorts of serious things, fun things, not so fun things, everything. And the super chat is, of course, also live. Okay, so you know what? If I was going to compete in something, I feel like I would want to be fair simply because there'd be an asterisk next to whatever I won, right? I'll show you this picture. And I kind of feel bad for these guys. I really, really do. So these are the guys that won. It's the crew of the Sensation. And they caught that gigantic blue marlin that you see in the middle there. If you don't see it, it's huge. It's a very, very long. It's 619.4 pounds. Okay. So there it is. Now I know the picture, you probably can't zoom in on it, but I believe that if you look on the right side and the left side, you'll see a little bit of meat that is gone. Okay. These guys could have won $3 million in tournament prize money for that marlin, but they were disqualified due to a quote unquote mutilation by a shark or other marine mammal. So this is the reason I'm bringing this up. And thank you to Calvin for bringing this story to my attention. The reason I bring this up is I want to ask, do you think that this is fair? Now, I will say this. If I'm in a fishing competition and I bring in a gigantic fish that's been injured, right? It's easier for me to bring it in. But this crew, okay, they fought this fish for more than 6 hours.
Wow.
To bring it onto the boat. More than 6 hours. So the tournament live streamed. The boats returned to shore. People turned out. They waited. They did whatever. And then all of a sudden, the judges were like, okay, guys, let's talk about the rules here. It would appear this fish has been bitten by a shark. It obviously has visible wounds, as you see in the picture. They had discussions, and apparently this is the same thing that they've done before. I just feel like there should be a time as well. If you fight a fish for 6+ hours, that should count for something. Like, obviously, even if a shark or other fish damaged it or mutilated it or whatever word you want to use, it still had 6+ hours of fight in it.
Yeah.
I just feel like they should be able
And
to
how do
get
you know?
prize money.
How do you know if it's been mutilated? You can't really see it. But also, I don't know, maybe there's the whole reason is because if it was damaged or bitten by some other fish, then its energy is depleted, or it's more easy to catch in some way. I don't know.
Well, that's why I would say, look, if it was bitten by a shark and you brought it in, like, I don't know, in a half an hour. I've never big fished. I don't know what you call it, but I've never done it.
Ocean fishing,
Deep sea ocean fishing. Yeah. I've never done it. So I don't know even if it wasn't injured or how long it would take you to bring it on the boat. But I would say that 6 hours seems to be a very long time. You should get credit for that. Al Anonymous says, was the marlin alive when they got it? Reminds me of Old Man of the Sea, Hemingway. Karen says the fish was already injured. Who knows how hard it would have fought? 7 or 10 hours if it wasn't injured. Good point. Yeah, and then Kevin says at least they didn't stuff it with weights to win, which was another story that happened, which was pretty obvious. Those people were like humiliated on camera. They stuffed it. Not only did they stuff the fish with weights that were like this big, I think they put fish fillets in it as well. It's like
ridiculous.
It's just absolutely ridiculous.
So this fish that you showed was 619 pounds.
Yes, right.
And
Here it is again.
they had to go to the second highest weighing fish,
right,
which was 484 pounds, which is really quite a difference.
True. How long do you know how long it took them to bring that fish up to the boat?
No, they didn't say.
Yeah, I get it. I mean, if the rules are the rules, I just wish they had a little bit of a caveat. It's a sport, I guess. I don't know.
Yeah.
I liked the story because I just didn't think it was very fair. But that's a good point. Maybe it should have taken longer. But not any number. Like, what if it was nibbled while they were trying to reel it in?
Yeah.
I don't know. Could have been bit. Yeah, before it was hauled on board. Yeah. Will they at least eat it afterwards, or is it wasted by stuffing it? No, I'm assuming they probably cut it up and eat it.
Bet if it's an award-winning fish that is like garners you $3.5 million, they probably do the whole have it shellacked and put it on a wall thing.
Yeah, but with the bites of the shark out of it, I mean,
well, now that it's not the winning fish.
Right, that's not going on the wall. Al says, lighten the line, tighten the line repeatedly to not break the line for 6 hours is not easy. Exactly. Now, I agree with you, Nick. Hunting for sport is a barbaric practice and should not be allowed.
Yeah.
I feel like people put fish in a completely different category than they do mammals, right? I really do. I always try to make the equation, like the comparison, pardon me, of like a cow, which is a massive animal being slaughtered, and like fish that are slaughtered all the time. And people are like, yeah, that's fine. Is it the size that matters? I think a lot of times it is. But they did it for sport. And
sorry, what did you say?
What?
Did you say that size that matters? Is it?
Yeah. Size does matter for people to care about it sometimes. It's all flesh, Nikki. Yes, I agree. Millionaire spent 6 hours and 2,000 gallons of diesel to land a tuna. Yeah, I know. I wasn't really talking about the act of sport fishing. But you guys are making really good points. Should we be even doing this to these poor fish? They were just trying to live. There was a great video, and I'm just thinking of it because you guys are going down that road of this little boy, and he had caught like a gigantic catfish.
Yeah.
And he's holding it up for his dad, and his dad's taking pictures like, oh my God, look at this fish. Look at it. And then he's like, okay, let's put you back. And he puts him back, like praise, like, you think that he wanted, and he puts it back. It's like, I hope you live a good life or something like that. A really, really cute video.
But then why traumatize the animal if you're not going to eat it? It just seems like so rip it out of its environment, freak it out, wave it around, take a picture, smile, and throw it back. It's kind of mean-spirited.
I hear you. I hear you. Like if it was us, right? Someone
Yeah.
like kidnapped me and made me dance around for my meal and then let me go. It's like, well, what was that all about? Can you leave me alone?
I have some more information if you're interested regarding that submersible.
Oh, please.
Yeah,
Yes,
we were
very...
talking earlier about the air that was required to sustain life aboard it. By the way, this is Hamish. Hamish Harding is a billionaire who was, we'll say it right now, is aboard this vehicle, the submersible. It is a submersible that is designed to have enough oxygen for its passengers to survive for 96 hours.
And how long have they been under?
We don't know. I don't know. I don't have the time of when they left. 5 people aboard. Communications were lost on Sunday. So I guess you could assume that everything was going okay until Sunday, and maybe it's 96 hours from Sunday. I don't know. Again, among those on board included British billionaire and famed explorer, pictured here, Hamish Harding, according to his family. There is a race against time now to find this missing vessel. There is a Coast Guard using resources in the air, in the water, 900 miles from Cape Cod, east of Cape Cod. So yeah, again, 96 hours is how long it has. And I don't know if that counts from the time it left or from the time it just lost power and lost communication.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Okay. So I'm reading this one article. David Concannon is an advisor to the company. They said, like you said, it's they lost contact Sunday morning, had 96 hours. He said now 32 hours since the sub left the surface.
Okay.
That's frightening. I really hope. Yeah. And again, how much people pay anywhere from $100,000 to $150,000?
I read 250,000.
Oh, 250,000.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
My goodness. And is that that's what the submersible looks like, right?
Yep. Mm-hmm.
And how many people are on board?
5.
Jesus.
Yeah.
That sucks. Well, I really hope that they find him alive, obviously alive. Imagine paying that much money though. That's quite the experience if they do. Hopefully coming out of it alive.
They're pulling out all the stops. And since Hamish is a billionaire, you can bet his family is like calling up private companies to say, get out there now, right? So they probably have the resources of the Canadian Coast Guard, the U.S. Coast Guard, and whatever Hamish's family is sending out there too.
Then there's me, the murder mystery lover, who's like, unless somebody had this plan from the start, who's in Hamish's will, right? Like my mind, goes
You're
that way so bad. Is there something criminal going on? I hope they find him alive. I'm just wondering, did somebody sabotage the submersible? You would think
for the perfect crime.
Yeah, you're 10,000 leagues under the sea. I'm not that far, but you know what I'm saying? Like, geez, it could be. Well, let's hope it turns out to be a happy ending. Let's hope for a happy ending. Okay, well, on that note, I guess I'll end it on this. I was kind of going back and forth, but since it just I hope that they find these people alive. But the woman that we talked about last week who was revived and knocked on the coffin, remember the Ecuadorian woman? She has officially died. Yeah. Now, again, I'm not making light of it. I'm just asking this question. How long do you think it is before they're going to really put her in the ground? Because I would be like, you know what? Let's just wait a beat, shall we? But apparently she died. She was in the hospital the whole entire time after being pulled from her coffin and revived. Apparently, the doctor said she had a number of small strokes, and they're still investigating how someone who was still alive was put into that casket. But she has passed away.
I would say she has a history of her heart starting back up. So maybe we want to triple check this one.
Yeah, I think I would just leave the coffin open a crack. You know what I mean? Like let's wait a week. Maybe leave some food, some water inside the coffin just in case. Don't embalm the poor lady, please, because you
don't know.
I wouldn't trust
after the initial thought that she's dead, you got to go back. You have to do another check. Then
you do another funeral. You do another funeral.
The morgue, you make it a triple check, and then you sign the death certificate.
Yeah, and again, I rest in peace if she has officially passed. But I would definitely be waiting a second. And
everybody's going to be looking at that coffin during that funeral.
I think if I was at that funeral, every funeral for the rest of my life, I will be listening closely. I mean, I would think I'm like, we need to wait.
Yeah.
Wait, unless of course she's been involved, and then there's really no question there. But yeah. All right, let's click the thumbs up button. Show your support for the show. Just click it once. We really appreciate all your guys' help. And thank you so much to those that have donated to the super chat, to Bumped Up Julianne and Jillian, and so many other people that became adorables. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Go to thenikkimedoroshow.com, thenikkimedoroshow.com to sign up to become a Medorable and a monthly subscriber to our Patreon. Wish me luck. I will be here tomorrow. Might have a few bags under my eyes and puffy eyes. Did you cry when Julia went to Washington, D.C.?
I thought I would, but I didn't.
Yeah, I don't know. My daughter's asking me. She's like, "Are you going to cry?" I'm like, "Do you want me to cry?" Just real quickly, at the graduation, I didn't think I was going to cry. Yeah. And I got weepy one moment. And it was when the two school presidents, because they have a fall and a summer or a spring one, they each gave this speech. It was kind of a joint speech. It was really, really, really cute. But then at the end of the speech, they go, "Class of 2023, we did it." And I'm going to get choked up again. I don't know what it is about we did it. I was like, I don't know if it's the Rocky lover in me where whatever. But I get weepy every single time. And I look at my mother-in-law, who's the weeper of all weepers. And I'm like, oh my God, I'm like you. But yeah, I did cry a little bit. So we'll see if I cry tomorrow, but I will be here for the show. My daughter's going to Washington, D.C., and I just can't believe it. But until tomorrow, bye, guys.
Nikki, you're all so awesome. You're proud, like a beautiful person. You're also the best. I really can't rest. You're all so awesome.
Wow. Okay.